Hello, everyone. So this panel is going to talk about AI in entertainment. So my background is in film production, and so it's a subject that's near and dear to my heart. What we've got three experts up here who are at the leading edge of knowing what's going on in the film business right now. So first we have Annie Hanlon, who's an accomplished executive and winning producer in multiple different expertise within the industry: advertising, commercial, immersive experiences, traditional film, and emerging technologies and documentaries. She and Christina Lee Storm are the founders of Playbook, which is also dealing with technologies and how it emerges. And Christine is also a head of a studio, narrative of AI native studio, Secret Level. So she is also head of one of the companies that is going to be defining what's happening in this space in the next several years. She's an accomplished executive and award-winning producer known for pioneering storytelling through emerging technologies in film, series, animation, documentaries, XR, and multi-platform storytelling. And our third panelist is Carolyn, I'm going to mispronounce your name, Giardina, who is an award-winning journalist and author who has devoted her career covering art and science and entertainment and has held editorial roles in publications such as The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and Shoot. Her authoritative coverage has included such industry inflection points at the digital television and digital cinema transitions. Basically, the entertainment industry has gone through several different kinds of things, from going from film to digital, that has happened very quickly. This is one of those points as well. So these three ladies are going to end up showing you several examples and taking you through what's happening in the industry. So please give a warm welcome to our panel.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Christina and I are actually here for the third time, so we're thrilled to be back for the third AI Symposium. Thank you in the back. I appreciate your applause. And we are wearing these jackets because the first year I got to go to Adult Space Camp, Team Pioneer, there she is. Last year, Christina went, and we're going to drop off Carolyn tomorrow for her time at Space Camp. So we've really enjoyed getting to know so much about the U.S. Space and Rocket Center and our avid fans. So every year when we come, we try to bring something a little different around AI and entertainment. So this recently we launched a Substack called the Creative and Tech Orbit. There'll be a QR code for it later. And we were very lucky to partner with Carolyn on this. As Nancy mentioned, she's a leading journalist and author who's been leaning into tech and entertainment for longer than most people. So Carolyn, do you want to start and give us a little history about AI and M&E?
AI, as you all know, not just in entertainment, but across the board, is not new. How many of you saw The Lord of the Rings? Okay, well, those giant crowds of orcs that you saw storming Helm's Deep and the other battles in that movie were created with an AI-driven software system called Massive. So there's always early adopters, as we know, and the visual effects industry in Hollywood has certainly been among them. They have been developing tools for a long time already, using AI for applications such as crowd replication, like I just mentioned, or even asset management and things like that. It's really become an issue in Hollywood, like everywhere more recently, because the technology is evolving so quickly, and now it's really not just affecting visual effects, but it's affecting everybody. I'm sure you've read in articles about how the Screen Actors Guild is very much focused on its impact on the actors and preserving and controlling their likenesses. The Writers Guild, both of those groups, you probably know, had a well-documented strike a couple of years ago, and that labor contract was one of the key issues was the AI language. Similarly, since then, other groups, the cinematographers, the editors, when they've done their labor negotiations, AI has been central to that as well. So really, again, like in many industries right now, AI is really touching everybody right now, and that's why there's so much focus on it in entertainment right now. And we all believe that communication and community is very important in that space, and that's why the three of us, we are very like-minded, and I'm so excited to be joining them.
So if you were with us last year, we showed this slide, and it's a reminder that why does the entertainment industry want to use these tools? It really comes down to the storytelling and connecting with our audience. And so Robert McKee, if you're interested in story, he's written a book called Story, and we highly recommend it because, you know, it's the tools and the technology that are designed to help support the storytelling, and that's the number one thing. Next. Oh. So just real quick, as Nancy had mentioned, we have worked, Annie and I have worked both on feature films, documentaries, animation, and in the last 15 years, we've really been at the cross-section of Hollywood and Silicon Valley.
So these are just some examples of some of the groups and associations that we're a part of. It's really important for us, especially with our company playbook, to really lean in and have a seat at the table, because as you can imagine, and as I have heard echoed in several conversations, you know, policy is being figured out, everything's moving so quickly. So we are very passionate about being a part of the conversation and helping to sort regulations and you know, where things are going in rights and copyright and all those important pieces. So really quickly, I'll just give you a quick overview of Playbook. We have 4 pillars. We have production. We have you know, like producing and content creation. We have an R&D pillar, which we'll get into a little bit later because we have a startup that we're about to launch. We have education and outreach. Again, you'll see education reflected a lot in our conversation today. That is a cohesive thread that has been certainly in our career since we started getting more into tech and emerging tech especially, and then creative. So, okay. I'm doing double duty here with the clicker. Hang on, lots in my hands. I need a third hand like AI often gives us. That's actually what I need right now. So as we said, we got to team up this year with Carolyn to launch the Creative and Tech Orbit Substack. And Carolyn, I will send it to you to tell a little bit about your background.
Well, again, I'm a journalist, an author, and I've been covering this side of the business for a long time. I've covered a number of inflection points, including digital cinema, when we went from film-based projectors in movie theaters to what we now have, which is digital projectors, and what we may have in the future, which is being explored, which is LED. So all of those things are changing. But this inflection point with AI is something that feels very different. You know, in all cases, there are so many moving parts to a big transition: the business, the creative, the technical. And but the reason this one feels different is because, unlike the other ones, you sense more fear from people, and as a result. And this is one of the reasons we felt so strongly about, you know, trying to create community around this, is that, you know, we think that to address that fear, you know, communication and community is more important than ever. And it's really about storytelling. I mean, that's the big picture, and that's why we're so happy to be here, because we are learning so much and, you know, enjoying, you know, this experience this week with all of you. And, you know, whether it's, you know, that incredible presentation we saw last night at the planetarium, to another incredible presentation we saw this morning, and learning about how the Cincinnati Reds are using AI. It's all about storytelling and community, so we're really honored to be here with all of you.
So we want to kind of level set a little bit about what's happening with our audience. Whenever we think about storytelling, it's really important we kind of look at where is our audience at. And so we have a slide here that basically this is a snapshot of what the audience is focused on, and really the key factor right now is the audience's time and attention is divided, and it's divided particularly. If the younger you are, the more divided it is. And so this is where I decided to come up with the concept of the entertainment umbrella. I shared that last year and probably the year prior, that really describes sort of what's happening. It doesn't mean that films are going away. It just means that you're sharing time, the attention and time of your audience. So here are some articles that Carolyn has covered that has gotten us talking. We've known each other over 10 years, but these are some things that are really important, and she's covering those key pieces in the industry. And technology is what is going to provide us with a way to reach a bigger audience than from a traditional framework. So traditionally, you're in one location. We're here. But if you do like second screen or multi-platform, you can maybe extend that. But these are some key articles that she covered. And then also happening in our industry is with Disney. So last year, 2024 actually, Disney invested $1.5 billion in Epic Games and Fortnite. And then they also that year pushed their content for early adopters in the Apple Vision Pro. Fox was using his Apple Vision Pro, I think last year, to sort of run his presentation, if you were here last year. But the interesting thing also is that in 2025, again, Disney has invested $1 billion in OpenAI. And on the same day, they also turned around and accused Google with copyright infringement. So there's some really interesting things happening in our industry. And then with OpenAI, the other thing is, we see the headlines all the time. OpenAI is valued at this. They've got more money. And it would take about 1,001 Disney deals to really help with OpenAI spending. They spend a lot. And so $1 billion would only cover 3 to 4 weeks of its estimated losses for OpenAI. So based on those numbers, OpenAI needs more than 1,000 Disney deals to just kind of keep going.
Okay, so as I mentioned, there is definitely a lot of fear and worry in segments of our business, like everywhere. And some of the ones that we saw this past year even go into awards. It was an issue last Oscar season around The Brutalist, when it was reported that an AI tool was used, and again, you just heard the word AI and it made people nervous. And as a result, the Motion Picture Academy and the Television Academy as well, which produces the Emmys, both introduced AI guidelines for their awards this year to address it. I previously mentioned the guilds, the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild, both are going to be having their next round of contract negotiations this year, and then in the following year, again, others like cinematographers, editors, sound, and I think these are Annie, I think, is going to talk a little more about it, but they're an interesting time because AI came so quickly that I don't think that, it was here before the guidelines, were in place before. So I think that's why the last round were so critical, because I think, in a way, some industries were playing catch up because, again, the technology had evolved so quickly over the course of that period. But anyway, these are some of the issues that we are talking about now.
Yeah, and just hang on. What did I do? Uh-oh. Ooh. My goodness. We're going to have...
Tyler can...
We need Tyler.
He's going to... Yes, thank you.
There we go, Tyler. Thank you. Okay, so here's a couple things that just, because obviously we are talking about industry, but at the same time, the AFL-CIO just in October launched the Workers First, here I'll step out of the way so you can see that, the Workers First initiative on AI, because as we said, it's not just an industry issue, it is a everyone issue. And there's even a bit of jostling with who's going to go first for the unions in Hollywood, because last year DGA went first and made their deal, and then things had even changed in between SAG-AFTRA and WGA doing their deal. So they do not want to be the first to the table this year. So it's just—
SAG is going first.
That's right, it is
next
SAG.
week.
Okay, SAG's going first, so SAG's up. Another thing that just came into play on January 1st is Governor Newsom signed California's SB 53, and this is all about making AI safe, transparent, and accountable, and setting it as a legal requirement because there are really no parameters at this time.
So this slide is interesting. This talks about unregulated technology and its impact. So recently, we're seeing implications of unregulated technology in the hands of the public. Anyone can really open a URL, and in their browser, they can get unfiltered and often misinformation from ChatGPT or any type of chat. And when we watch, this is what's really interesting for us in the entertainment industry, when we watch pharmaceutical commercials in the US, they follow a very, very specific format because they're regulated by the FDA. By law, pharmaceutical commercials must disclose the drug's major risks, possible side effects, and who should not use it. And the FDA requires this so consumers receive a fair balance of benefits and risks and are not misled. But there is zero regulation for ChatGPT. And our children, sadly, are killing themselves. So in Hollywood, we're dealing with the same lack of regulation and its impact on intellectual property.
Okay, so these are the 3 pillars of Hollywood. Many of you probably already know this, but it's clear chain of title, so who owns what, payment of services, and residuals. So the reason that deals like everybody wanting Warner Brothers for almost $83 million in cash is because it's IP, and IP is really valuable. So again, the impact of what we're doing with regulation is really important, because if you have no ownership or no IP, then the Hollywood industry isn't worth anything, and it's certainly not worth $83 billion. Okay, so I love this slide. I don't know if anyone else went to CES this year, but this is Cloyd, and Cloyd is a robot that LG has put out. It's not deployed yet, but it's coming soon. It's a household robot. So, what do you notice first when you look at this slide? Do you notice the robot, or do you notice the pink data privacy that I put at the bottom? Truth is, you probably notice the robot and ignore the data privacy piece. So what we all need to be thinking more about is, it's great to have a household robot, and I'm not putting LG in the crosshairs, but this is taking photos of your house, it's scanning your house, it has a lot of your personal IP and data. And what we all need to start thinking about is who owns that data and who's monetizing that data, because that's actually your data. That's information that you own. It's your personal currency, is how we talk about it. So, and this concern is not new. In fact, famously, Robin Williams in his will put that his name, image, and likeness could not be used for the first 25 years after his death. And then you may have heard recently that Matthew McConaughey trademarked his voice. So everybody's trying to figure out the best way forward.
Actually, can I jump in on something there?
Yes.
We're talking about a lot of things that are causing concern in our industry, and those things are all true. But I should also balance it that there's also a young generation of content creators out there that are experimenting with these new tools. And conversely, we're also seeing some really interesting new types of stories being told from different types of filmmakers, and I think that's where we all feel responsibility, and education is important, and education is an area that I think Christina is going to jump into next.
And if you were with us last year, you saw, right, like Josh, like we brought a young, amazing creator. So yes, so I'm glad we're balancing both of those.
So besides being a co-founder of Playbook, PLBK, as well as a co-founder of the Substack, the Creative Tech Orbit, I also am head of studio for narrative, head of studio narrative for an AI native studio called Secret Level. And basically, we are one of the first out, just so you have a little bit of context. About 2.5 years ago, the company was created by the founder and chief creative officer, Jason Zada, and we are probably one of the more prolific, premier studios that are creating professionally level content, commercials, music videos, narrative projects. So what's interesting is, I think you can go to the next slide. This is a trailer, and then I'll talk about it after. So we approach production first with, can we do our project AI first, and then we'll pull in and we can do a hybrid, we can do a shoot and add those elements. But you know, some of the work we've done has been seen by globally. Next slide is the Coke spot. We basically had done the Coke spot this past year, 2025, it's a holiday spot, and then 2024. What Coke loves to do is say that it was generated in AI because they want all the publicity, whether it's negative or positive. The other thing is we work with all the major studios, and what's exciting for me leading the studio is to try and step into this responsibly. How do we approach content creation and making things responsibly and putting in all considerations? So one thing I'm going to show next is during the Golden Globe Awards, we had our ad spot for Kalshi show, which was interesting because I was watching and I didn't realize it was going to be shown during the Golden Globes. But this one is really neat. What I'll do is I'll tee it up so you can kind of keep your eye out for it. The thing about generative AI is you really want to create something that it would be kind of more difficult to create if you had to do it traditionally, maybe through VFX. So this spot in particular I like because it does do that exactly. Okay, we'll show it.
Welcome to the galaxy's favorite spot to put money down on planet Earth. It used to just be sports. Now, the whole darn rock is fair game. This guy just struck gold on a celebrity gender reveal. Those gravity hogs just lost it all on the wrong dancer. And Kyle, all in on global warming. But that's Earth. And with Kalshi, you can trade on all of it.
So we're in the middle of, we just delivered another Kalshi spot and developing another one as well. So they're a great company to work with because we get to do fun, creative things. Okay, next slide. The other thing that's really important, we realize as a premier AI native entertainment studio is that we actually want to see our industry sort of grow. And some of that is really where industry professionals should get upskilled. What does that mean? It means if you come and you've had, let's say, a decade of experience being a cinematographer, production designer, director, and editor, there's a way in which your own skill and your craft should get upskilled with using generative AI tools. So in that idea of like, how do we help our fellow professionals keep working, especially in a very disruptive time. We also had content like there was contraction, is to really help professionals know, hey, I have this specialty, how do I apply it? And so what we did was we created the Secret Level Academy. It's designed for professionals, taught by professionals. And so you can go to the next slide. Here's the video
built your career in
to show
film,
you.
television, and advertising. You speak the language of professional production. And over the years, you've broadened your knowledge of new equipment, new techniques, and new workflows. And now, AI is here. And the best people to help you adapt are the professionals who are already doing the work. Introducing Secret Level Academy, the first AI filmmaking masterclass built for professionals like you. Designed by the team at Secret Level, an AI native entertainment studio delivering award-winning work for global brands and Hollywood studios. This isn't theory. This isn't tips and tricks. This is a deep dive into the techniques and workflow of a new era of AI-driven production. You'll learn how to bring still images to life with motion, performance, and direction. How to work in different styles from realism to animation. How scenes are designed, animated, refined, and delivered. How to create any characters, style them, and place them in cinematic worlds. How to incorporate new techniques to enable hybrid workflows with live action. How to deliver complex visual effects in a fraction of the time. And how real AI native productions actually get made, from ideating in LLMs to outputting with upscalers. This is a course built from Secret Level's experience on years of professional projects, using a studio-proven workflow shaped by real-world experience. So come learn from the best in the business.
People who speak your language.
And take your career to the next level. Secret Level Academy, a professional masterclass for the next era of production.
Okay, so I just want to do a quick survey. How many of you feel like in that video it was like 50% Gen AI? Raise your hand. And the 50% actors. 75%. 100%. Yeah, okay. It was 100%. It was funny because when I wasn't making this trailer, and so when I saw, I was like, oh, it's really cool that we got the behind the scenes with the guy on the set. And Jason, who's the founder, he's like, no, that was, we did that one. I go, oh, of course we did. So, you know, that just, what we like to just do is show this because it just came out in December. We finished in December and we premiered it at CES, is that's probably the latest level of work and, you know, just seeing the different ways in which you can use Gen AI. Okay, so great thing is, you guys, we're launching actually next week, and we were able to get a big discount. It's $500 off of the normal price. So what I would do is definitely share with other professionals. There's a lot of AI teaching out there right now, which is great. There's some 101 type, here, I'll move out of the way, 101 type classes and bundles. This one really is designed, you know, you have someone who's a professional, they want to really learn how to get it to the quality you saw in the trailer. That's what we're walking through. I teach a couple classes too. So.
Okay, so continuing with education, USC, we just thought that was interesting that we 2 years ago brought one of the AI professors from USC, and he actually at the time was not allowed to say he taught AI filmmaking. So now we've gone to, they have $10 million in seed money to build a Gen AI team at USC. And so there's also this group under USC called the Entertainment Technology Center, ETC. And it's sort of a safe space for the different studios, the different technology companies to come together and figure out solutions with these changes happening so quickly. They've been doing it for a long time. And so they give out to former students every year. There's 2 grants given out that attack a particular a particular evolution in technology and storytelling. This year it was all about AI. So I'm going to hand it back to Christina to talk a bit about a project called The Bends, which is a fully Gen AI animated short.
Yeah, so we did this over a year ago, and the Bends, the story came from a USC graduate who had a background in animation, and I produced this. We had a core team, and at the time, the studios weren't really allowed to say they were doing anything in AI. So we were really the R&D for Universal, Amazon, Sony, all the major studios. And so we would continue working, and we were really working on the pipeline, scalability, character consistency, and then bring that back to the studios. And they were so excited because, again, they weren't really allowed to deploy teams, and so we did this. And so what's neat is this is, again, it's picking a really great piece of storytelling that helps to leverage the best use of generative AI, which is what's better than being underwater. If you've done any kind of computer graphics, you know that water is really hard to do. I remember my early days over at Rhythm & Hughes where you're using Houdini, and it takes like a rocket scientists to use Houdini. Very difficult, and you need physics and all that. Nowadays, it's a little bit easier. So what I'm going to show you before we cue it is the next video is to let you see how we retain the human authorship in the process. So we had Tiffany, she would just storyboard out basically the entire short and sort of the ideas and things in which she wanted to see, and that became our animatic, which then we used really to drive, here's the different shots we want to do and the different pieces. So what is really important is also showing how do we retain our current talent, like the director, the cinematographer who would give lighting. He gave lens information, the look, the color, all of those things frame during the process, as well as just giving our AI artists that look into it. So we'll show you a side-by-side here. Left side is storyboards, animatic. Right side is like a almost complete final without any color. There you have it.
So as I mentioned earlier, Christina and I have a startup focused on tracking the human authorship in the Gen AI workflows. This is really important because we want to get copyright, people want to have that ownership and IP. So actually we were lucky enough that on this project, it's one of our pilot programs for our platform that's called Playbook Air. So we've been starting to seed some articles and information about why we feel this is important and how we're tackling the problem. So essentially, it's a security, provenance, and compliance platform. We're about to go out for funding, so if there's any investors here, anybody you think we should know, please come find us after. But it's been very interesting, and we're seeing it across a lot of industries where this issue is getting a little bit the can's getting kicked down the road a little bit, when in actuality, to your point earlier, there's so many incredible young creators and just new creators, not even necessarily young. There's a lot of people in mid-career who are starting to lean into all of this, and we want everybody to have that ownership piece.
One thing I'll mention is one of the reasons why this is important is because today with the U.S. Copyright Office, you can't just prompt something and then that can be copywritten. So it has to display the human authorship. So this is an answer to that problem.
That's on to Carolyn.
Okay, so I'm just going to elaborate a little more on something that I think has been a theme throughout. Is one way for the community to come together and forward this area in a responsible way is going to be standards. One organization, the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers, which is a global standard-setting body, has a number of AI initiatives in place. In fact, the Entertainment Technology Center, the organization that created the BENS, is one of the groups that they've been working with to identify what sort of standards might be needed for agentic workflows and security, other areas like that. There are also a number of organizations looking at the potential of a sort of registry, if you will, for AI models that would be publicly available potentially, along with the related metadata that's needed. And then they also, the SIMPD in particular, has study groups in place that are looking into other areas of education, including online learning. So again, the community is coming together and, working on how we're going to forward this area.
So I also am fortunate to have a second unpaid job. It's being the governor of the Television Academy. I'm an elected governor. I'm in my second term. And for the last few years now, we've really been focusing on education, outreach, and really putting more agency into the hands of our Television Academy members. So we have nearly 30,000 members. There are 31 different peer groups. What are a peer group? Peer group could be a specialty group like cinematography, directors, producers, television execs. I govern the Emerging Media Programming peer group. And so I raised my hand because last spring I really felt there was a lot of conversations, no one really knew what was going on, and we just needed to put something down on paper so people could actually take these key considerations and bring them with them while they're doing their projects. Maybe there's a project that's trying to consider using generative AI. So we centered it, we umbrellaed it so that it could feed to all 30,000 members 3 key principles that are important and tied to our values as TV Academy members. Creative integrity to professionals, creators, performers, craftspeople. Permissions, licenses, legal and commercial viability, and then the third is accountability, transparency, and sustainability. And really it's designed to ask questions. So I'm gonna let you take pictures, especially if you have people who want to work in Hollywood, they want to be professionals in the business. And I'm not going to go through every one of them, but these questions are designed to sort of stoke conversation, bring up things that are tied to what we knew was happening in the industry, things that were not yet figured out, and then to continue having the conversation. So this is all about creative integrity. Someone like a makeup artist could take the list and then ask their line producer, I have some questions. And that's really what we wanted to do. The second one, this one, hits on permissions, licenses, legal and commercial viability. There's a lot of conversations in this realm in terms of models, source of models. As you can imagine, we've already hit on this where $85 billion is a lot of money. And why is that valued at that? It's because of the intellectual property. So there's a lot of conversations that are happening right now. And some of these questions help to drive questions to ask people. And the third is accountability, transparency, and sustainability. Issues that might present themselves just within things like tracking, things like environmental issues, things about disclosure. We really believe that transparency of the use is super important. So, yep, that's it. You can take all your pictures and share.
Awesome, thank you. And I will say that was a heavy lift to get that done. Just even the word considerations, I'm sure all of you who work in businesses that often have some red tape, the word considerations, it couldn't be guidelines, it couldn't be, that itself was, I think, its own documentary about how that all got landed. So let me see if I know what the next, okay, here we go. So basically how we think of things now is community is not like a nice to have, it really is part of business infrastructure. We have moved on from I know everything to really needing to lean in and be in a learning space. So you don't, in a meeting, I think when we were coming up for sure, we were taught like you'll figure it out, just say yes in the meeting, but you'll figure it out after. And now it's really raise your hand and be like, I actually don't know, and lean in because everything is changing so quickly. So, and our saying, and I'm going to read it because we say it so much, I should have it memorized, but basically AI adoption fails when knowledge doesn't flow. And right now, community is going to make transparent and safe adoption possible, which is key. These are just a couple examples of some articles that we have done on our Substack. I will say, I don't know if anyone here knows what Gaussian splats are or has heard that term, but it's, or photogrammetry, if that sounds familiar. This is sort of a new iteration. We have a lot of professionals right now who are following our Substack, and this 4-part piece that we did on it was one of the most popular because, like I said, even professionals are like, how do you become an expert in something that's brand new? You have to learn, and you have to have conversations and guidance from people who are really at the tip of the spear. Oh no, I think that's the video next. Okay, so we have this video. How are we doing on time? We're doing okay on time. Okay, so some of you may be familiar with the Consumer Electronics Show, which I mentioned earlier, where Cloyd, LG's robot, was. I was lucky enough to give tours this year about the advancement of AI and robots rising. And what that meant was I walked 9 miles a day, and I gave 100+ people tours of a couple of the show floors. And what's really interesting is there were kind of 5 very specific trends that emerged. The CES lands right at the beginning of January. It's a bit of a hard bump after the holiday, I'm not gonna lie, to land in Las Vegas and be just on the go. But it really does set the stage for 2026 and what we're expecting the trends to be across it can be healthcare, it can be smart home, but then so much of it is all coming back to media and entertainment, like cars, for example. You think of Waymos and driverless cars. What do you have in a driverless car? You have a really, really good display. And that display now has a captive audience member sitting in it. So everyone's trying to figure out where can we push content, how can we tell more stories, and where can we tell them. So this is about an 8-minute video. What we did was we had one of our Creative Tech in Orbit members record a video going through the 5 pillars. So we're going to let Lori tell you a bit more about what we saw in January.
And one thing I want to add about the autonomous vehicles. So when I was at DreamWorks, 2018, we were really looking at this. I was like, oh, wow, you could just have a captivated audience. And now we're at 2026. The cars exist. They're not allowed everywhere, but it's starting to sort of roll out and play out. So CES is always the first stop in emerging tech.
Hi everybody, I am Lori H. Schwartz from Storytech, and as a proud member of the Creative and Tech Orbit community, I am excited to contribute a special CES 2026 wrap-up for this edition. Now look, I don't know how many of you went this year or have been in the past, but it is a show that can literally feel so overwhelming with thousands of booths and endless demos and lots of buzzwords. It can be literally mind-blowing and exhausting. Do you know this year there were actually 148,000 attendees, including 55,000 that were international, and over 50% of these attendees are senior level executives and investors and media. My team is privileged to be leading the CES Executive Show Floor Tours, and I've been doing this for about 15 years, don't ask me how, but across every hall this year, AI was adding a more personalized and increasingly autonomous layer to everyday life. You really saw the convergence of AI, robotics, IoT, and advanced processors that are really shaping how we are going to live, work, and enjoy our lives. So here are 5 big trends from the show floor that are really going to help us understand what's happening this year. And the first one is enterprise AI. Enterprise is increasingly turning to AI supercomputing platforms to manage heavy AI development. And these platforms are combining CPUs, GPUs, all sorts of alternative computing paradigms to help developers create applications in real time. Never before on the floor have we seen, heard, and looked at chips, processors, cards, and all the back end of what's going on in this world. Those were always in meeting rooms. But now that technology is front and center, and especially with a new area that CES developed this year called the Foundry, which was focused on AI, quantum, and blockchain. And all the different brands that were showcasing that content, like NVIDIA, IBM, Qualcomm, AMD, and many others, were there in full force for the first time, showing the behind the scenes of all of this great technology. Our next trend is called Robots Rising, and this is really about how machines, AI, and infrastructure are basically rebuilding our world. Now, robots, of course, are all about science fiction, and maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger coming to your house. But now, service robots, collaborative industrial arms, also known as cobots, are really augmenting the human experience by supporting us in a number of business categories for mobile logistics systems, healthcare, even media and entertainment. All of this is because there's a perfect storm of sensors, edge AI chips, and connectivity. So now they're becoming part of a larger, broader, intelligent ecosystem. And it really is the manifestation of physical AI, which is the integration of robots, vehicles, devices with these chips. And it's really allowing these robots to seem like they are sentient, but they're not. They're just being able to generate insights from something happening to them because of that edge compute. And what you're really seeing also, when we saw all over the floor, which was like a candy store for anyone who loves robots, is robots moving physically like humans, very dexterous, very much able to lift things, move things, do factory work, and actually even box with somebody. Our third trend is called the future of living, and this is really about how tech is redefining health, wellness, and longevity, with categories like baby tech, beauty tech, sports and fitness, and of course digital health. All different types of tech go into this category. And specifically around digital health at CES 2026, it really highlights a major shift as pharmaceutical companies are moving beyond traditional B2B models and getting into direct-to-consumer brands. It was the year of metabolism, with GLP-1s, of course, taking center stage. But at the show, you really saw the infrastructure, the ecosystem being built around GLP-1s. And then every sort of fun device, technology, robot, anything to do with taking care of ourselves, sports and fitness wearables, all sorts of things to help us live longer, healthier, and more interesting lives. So our second to last trend is sustainability. And sustainability is no longer really a side conversation at CES. It used to be that you would go to different booths and they would have marketing messages about being green, but the truth is the global surge in electrical demand, and also that's completely driven by transportation, electrification, by expanding data centers, and by all these smart devices, is literally reshaping how energy is generated, stored, and managed. So there was a lot of technology on the floor around batteries, around renewables, around a circular economy where a product doesn't have just one life, but ensures a relationship with the producer of that product and their consumer by encouraging reuse, by encouraging sending it back and getting a new device, and keeping that circle going. It's all about finding ways to leverage products, platforms, and infrastructure to have an energy efficient system. And that's why the important discussions also happening on quantum and the fact that quantum technologies can work a lot faster than our current processing solutions. So a lot of interest and a lot of passion about sustainability this year on the floor. Our last trend is focused on innovation in media and entertainment. I mean, it's always about screen bloom at CES with all those gorgeous television sets and screens and all the innovations around LED technologies. But the truth is, entertainment is no longer about television, at least not that concept of one single screen in the living room. The screen now has multiple sizes, it lives in a lot of different places, and it's all about the when and the where of how people are using it. Content is now moving across mobile, immersive environments, large-scale venues, and all sorts of interactive spaces. Literally, Las Vegas has the greatest example of that with the Sphere. So media is no longer something you just watch, it's something you experience. And at CES, that concept of disruption in these models was present on the floor. With the creator space and also with the C space, two areas defined by demographics that are supporting each other. The creator space being all about the creator economy, and C space being about media and entertainment, all working together now for the first time. And also in the West Hall, seeing several vehicles with advanced display tech, literally looking at screens that are across the entire width of the front of the car. Gorgeous screens that also have augmented reality solutions embedded in them. So continuing from the same trends in 2025, we saw a lot of AR mixed reality head-up displays integrated directly into windshields and other transparent OLED screens. It was a very exciting year for content, and all of the AI also ending up in that television and allowing for a more personalized viewing experience. Hey everybody, this has been Lori H. Schwartz. Thank you so much for sticking around and hearing about the CES 2026 trends. I hope you join us next year on the show floor and dig into all the bold ideas and the practical tools, because let's face it, the signals are clear. Creativity and technology are evolving fast. And you're going to want to stick here with this Substack, the Creative and Tech Orbit, to follow what's emerging, what's working, and what is shaping the future. See you on the floor.
Awesome. We wanted to play that for you because we thought she's so clearly encapsulated what was happening. And I will say she may look familiar because she's often on CNN being pulled in to talk about technology and entertainment. She was just on 2 nights ago, in fact. Yes.
She was.
So once again, it's all about the convergence of entertainment, storytelling within different enterprise verticals. Again, usually the floors are very divided up into specific silos, and this year, like, sustainability was on the same floor as advanced AI, as robots, because everybody's partnering together. Even Siemens had actually an amazing booth. Normally, Siemens would be more manufacturing, not something I would bring, folks interested in entertainment and AI into. But actually, they had a partnership with Disney around building 3D set pieces. So they were the actual back-end partner for that. So lots happening, lots of convergence. And what I will say, we were told the last 2 years we've run over and have not left time for Q&A. So we're going to wrap it up a little early to leave plenty of time for Q&A. But what I want to do is let this Hollywood legend, David Bowie, have the last word. Because this is a video from 1999. It's an interview with the BBC when he was asked what he thought about the internet. And it's very, very relevant to where we're at with AI today. And I will say that the first thing Christina said to me when I showed her this video was like, are you sure that's not AI? Like, is that really David Bowie?
I asked, where did you find the video? Where's the the authentic source of it?
Yeah, so I did.
Where is it coming from? Because I know people who could have easily made that.
Yeah, so it is a BBC interview. I have 3 sources. I triple checked. We live what we say, I guess. But anyway, I'll let David Bowie take it away. Oh, sorry. I totally forgot. Before we do that, take out your phones. This is the QR code for our Creative and Tech Orbit Substack, you do not have to do a paid subscription. Substack just pulls that up. There is a free one. Please click on that. We also would love to hear from you. If there are stories that you would like to see, please reach out to us. Our email is within the Substack. We really are looking to get a broad swath of voices, as well as interests, and just if you just have story ideas. We already, and Greg, I don't even think we've talked to you about this yet, but we have many story ideas just even from being at the planetarium last night, because literally that planetarium is like real-time production in where they've gotten to. So once again, space and Hollywood have always been connected, but the storytelling piece is very, very important.
So on the Substack, the Creative and Tech Orbit, in case you can't read that.
Yeah. I was so excited about David Bowie.
And if you're faculty or a teacher, we also really recommend you share this with your students. Just really great information, especially if they're interested in storytelling and entertainment.
Yeah, I'm actually teaching a class at Boston University right now. They have an outpost in LA, and I'm doing it with an SVP at HBO, and we have created this Future of Filmmaking course, and literally this is one of the required readings. There's a few other things because there's just everything's moving so quickly. There's a lot of information coming at people, and we're trying to find digestible ways so that you don't feel like it's just too much. So we're really excited about where this is headed, and we absolutely want to hear from all of you, because even just from our breakfast conversations this morning, there's so much connection between all the different industries in this room. So now we're going to go to David Bowie. I feel like I really let you guys.
At the tip of the iceberg, I think the potential of what the internet is going to do to society, both good and bad, is unimaginable. I think we're actually on the cusp of something exhilarating and terrifying.
It's just a tool, though, isn't it?
No, it's not. No, it's an alien life form.
What do you think? I mean, when you think then about
is there life on Mars? Yes, it's just landed here.
But it's simply a different delivery system there. You're arguing about something more profound.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the actual context, and the state of content is going to be so different to anything that we can really envisage at the moment, where the interplay between the user and the provider will be so in simpatico. It's going to crush our ideas of what mediums are all about.
So he saw it ahead. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and we now have some time if there's any questions. Oh, you have it.
Yeah, hi. Right here in the middle. Yeah. I started, this question came to mind when you were showing the secret level, some of the videos, especially the Academy video, and then your brief remarks about the David Bowie video, is it real or not, just kind of reinforced it. But I'm curious what advice you have for us about navigating a news world where you hear more and more debate, or people with an agenda one way or another saying this video is fake, no it's not, just how we can really have literacy in that.
Yeah, I actually believe that the sources that you rely on today will need to be the places that you go to. I've thought about this myself, which is why I asked. I go, well, if it's just on YouTube, I don't rely on that, because I kind of know how the sausage is made, and that video could easily have been done. That's why I asked. I was like, are you sure this is real? So, I think that also goes to the point of creators, the creator economy, is like, you should go to where you trust, where you want to get your things. And I think that's super important.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the C2PA a little bit, or just Adobe? There are groups that are starting to come up with these standards. We touched upon it a little bit, but specifically around news. So if there is a news clip and there's been some sort of change to it, it's almost like an alert will come up. It's obviously very complicated. You need a lot of different groups agreeing on what those standards are, but there is a big focus on figuring that out, because there has been a lot of issue.
The other thing I would just add is legislation probably should be enforced. My personal opinion is that if they're using generative AI, some kind of clip or whatever, it should have a little logo. So one great thing about Sora is that it does show that, and I appreciate that. But the minute someone downloads it, there's ways to get around that. So it's going to come down to your distribution reliability source.
Hello. My question was, I'm over here. Hello.
Oh, hello.
It's awards season. So I guess my question is around, now that it's being, Sinners has a ton of awards, and I know that's AI was a big part of that. I guess my question is, for those of us who are looking for content that is specifically, I don't want to say curated, but like that we know where to find like good AI entertainment, but also, so is there like a standard bearer who is helping with this? I know you all are probably a part of that, but just, if you could speak to that a little bit.
I just want to make sure I understand your question. Like, is there a company, do you mean?
No, like, I guess, like, so are there AI film awards, and then is there a place where they're talking about this AI film, you know what I mean, like reviewers
I see what you're
and
saying.
things like that?
So AI film, I'm not aware of any, but there are pockets, like, for example, the Visual Effects Society, which has its own award show within this award season period, has a category for emerging technology, and in the last couple of years, there have been tools that are nominated in that category that use AI, and last year's winner in that category actually was, has anyone seen the movie Here, the Robert Zemeckis film that starred Tom Hanks and Robin Wright? So this was a film that he made last year. It didn't go very wide, so you may not have seen it, but basically, the story involved Robin Wright and Tom Hanks as the leads, and the story takes place over decades, and you see them from as a teenager to old age, and they used a new AI tool to do that process, and on set they were actually able to, even on the monitor on set, see in real time what they were going to look like at the given ages to help with their performance. And that was a tool that was recognized last year, like I said, for the Visual Effects Society for, an emerging technology that's impacting the visual effects community. So there are pockets like that. And there are some organizations like Runway is, if you're familiar with Runway, they do a Runway AI festival for creators who did shorts. So I think there's like pieces of it right now that you're seeing.
That's actually the Runway, it's called the Gen 48, like 48-hour film festival, because you can imagine film festivals are difficult with AI because the tools change so quickly. And that was actually where there was one that won for Best Screenplay called The Void, Welcome to the Voids, and that's the one that we loved, and it was that creator that we actually brought to speak with us last year, and we found him through the Runway Gen 48 Film Festival. There's also Curious Refuge will often do, I know it's, shorter pieces, and we've both been judges, you may see us in some of the videos, where they have a global reach, and there's actually a lot of folks now working in the industry that got their start by just submitting, and then people were like, who did that? It's such a great piece. And then the third, 11 Labs, I'm blanking on the...
There's a Chroma Awards. These are all like independent type, film festivals. So there's quite a few out there, but nothing really centralized. As Carolyn mentioned, the Television Academy, which I'm on the board for, it's slower in terms of like, if it has AI, you need to cite that, and then, but there's not necessarily a category per se. I just heard, I don't know if this is news, that the Art Directors Guild has a new segment award, similar to like Visual Effects Society has something, but nothing very professional yet. And there's folks that are developing platforms to do that, but they're still in beta. And then a lot of it is social based. So it's not narrative, it's just social. Kind of like Sora with Disney. Like you can play around with the characters. So.
And I will say too, the reason that there haven't been full-length features yet is it's really hard to keep things consistent using AI tools. It's to do a fun clip for a few seconds, that's great, that's easy. To actually be consistent and tell a story, it does take a real team of people, which we think is great because it's still going to be an art form. But that's one of the reasons. It's not easy, it's actually really difficult, and you have to really be creative and tell a good story to get it through.
Hi, so my question is about how the film and media industry is ensuring representation and diversity in like the AI actors, so to speak. I feel like with AI, you have to consciously prompt it to like include diversity, minorities, disabilities into the characters that you see on the screen. And I feel like in real life, we finally broke that barrier to where we're not typecasting actors, where we're casting actors for their talent. So I was just wondering, how do you keep that authentic human element to not have unrealistic standards?
Yeah, that is a big concern, to be perfectly honest. And this is why sort of the current conversation is really not to replace actors. It's really to use actors as, you know, their performance and whatnot, and that they are actually the original source of with what you're trying to create. So that is really, really important. And so I think the other thing that happens also with prompting, and this is where, you know, again, it's not a solve-all. We show a lot of different great photoreal humans, but it's also, what if you wanted to do something slightly different? Like, how do you add that in with the character? If you just sort of are level one, I'm going to prompt and I'm going to say this, you'll probably get like a really good-looking person, you know? And so it takes, again, an artist, just like a digital artist, to really craft how do they want that person to look, what is their background, all of those things. So I would say that it goes back more so to the human who's driving and using the tool to make sure that they're being responsible to the representation. Yeah.
And I'll just add on really quickly to that. What's also interesting is there's the opportunity where languages, like Native American languages, especially I know Cherokee Nation does a lot with this, languages that are being lost because they aren't spoken are finding a resurgence because of AI. But on the flip side, we don't want those stories stolen. So that, again, going back to the copyright. So there's sort of this very delicate balance of we want everyone's voices out there, but we also want everybody to retain their ownership and authorship of those voices.
Gen AI right now, it's like really, really difficult to do, even like a simple, like if the three of us talking and stuff like that, it's just hard. So a lot of people today will say, and that could change, you know, throughout this year, but say, just shoot it. Like, there's nothing as special as real human beings performing and saying and doing. AI is not great at that in terms of a real dynamic scene, I would say.
That's a good transition to the question that I was going to ask about how you all are navigating the political environment in film and TV right now, the backlash to AI, even the revulsion against it as a kind of anti-artistic, anti-human medium. I'm thinking like Ethan Hawke's rant a few weeks ago. He's in full-scale revolt against AI. I'm just curious what that feels like and how it's affecting your young creators that you're working with, and your concerns about their professional growth, and yeah, just general thoughts on what that environment is like.
I mean, I think that's why we kind of leaned in, is if you're not sitting at the table to have the discussions, then it could go rampant. It could not be good. So for us, I think we really feel that it should just be a tool. I think there's a lot of headlines, and a lot of people like to say, I kind of say it's the, look, Mom, look what I did. And it's like, great, you did it on a clip, but what does that really look like? So for me, and even at Secret Level, we say actors' performance are key. It's number one. No one's trying to replace actors. If someone's trying to replace actors, I'd like to, they probably haven't done a lot of work in the long form or narrative side. I think that there is a surge in what sort of is igniting through creators. So there's a creators coalition. We were gonna show a slide about it, but we had a lot of ground to cover. But there is a group that has started from, founders are Daniel Kwan, who is one of the directors from Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's very strong about the rights as well as source of where the data has been. Janet Yang, who is the former president of the Oscars, of the Academy Awards. And two of my colleagues. So it is a thing. And I want to say there's at least 10,000 people that have signed this Creators Coalition page. I was one of the first 50 because I was in meetings, and I think it is important. No one in Hollywood wants to actually replace actors, or it's more about how do you upskill and how do you use the tool responsibly, right? And so that's really, really important. And that's where I feel. I think there's some great opportunity, but if it's not done responsibly, it's not good.
And I think, too, it's the education piece that really becomes foundational to all of this. We did a big, like a one-day, like 8:30 in the morning to 6 p.m. Education day with a group called Moon Valley Hysteria, of which Natasha Lyonne, the actress, is a partner in, and she's part of this Creators Coalition. So she's looking at it. She's an actress, she's a producer, she's a director, she's a writer, and she's coming at it where we don't want to look at it as either it's bad or it's good or use it or don't. It's really an education of like, here's what it's capable of, and it's here. So you can choose to be like, I don't want to touch it, and that's fine, but you should at least understand what it is and where it could potentially help you, and where maybe, you could do the upskilling to be able to remain relevant, because we're all, everyone's kind of figuring it out literally at the same time, from students in college to people in their careers, and I think the education and the conversation and the community piece is really helping get people on the same page, especially with people like Natasha who have the gravitas to be able to get in a room with Ted Sarandos and say,
yeah.
Do you care about crews and gaffers and grips and, all of that?
The other thing is the, if the question is, how cheap can I get it, that's also the wrong question. It shouldn't be about, can I get it cheaper? Maybe the question is, can I get it faster? Or can I get other materials, other content within the same budget? That's probably the smarter way of looking at it. Otherwise, it's just a race to the bottom. And I would say that across all industries.
But ultimately, there are a lot of moving parts, and it's true there's no easy answer, or we would not be sitting here right now having this conversation. So there are a lot of moving parts and thorny issues before, as we proceed forward.
Alrighty, and this will be our last question.
So, great update, great presentation. Really appreciate the thought and insight. So I come from an engineering company, a software company. We're using AI, and you're talking from the media perspective. There is one theme that is really common across the whole symposium is fear. People are very afraid about what is AI going to do to my compensation, to my job, to my future, to my career, ... If you ignore that, and this is an opinion question for a second, does the consumer want more AI-generated content? Do they see that? Does the industry see that as this is a good thing, either with augmented, real actors and then augmented AI, a combination, a hybrid, and all AI, full feature length film? Is at the end of the day, if you ignore the fear, which is a very valid and real item, does the consumer want more AI content in 2026?
It's interesting because I think my kids are on the cusp of Gen Z and Alpha, and there's some reports coming out that they're digital natives, so they can tell. and they are saying no. So I think that what's great, I love that, because it forces, what are we really doing, right? What are we doing with the storytelling? How are we using it? How are we, from the very beginning, engaging with our audience in a meaningful storytelling way, versus what we say also there exists as AI slop. I would count Sora, AI slop. I would count any kind of little like social media thing, slop. I would even say back, my opinion back is we don't even need social media. But that train left the station. So that's why I sit here and I'm involved, because I need to be involved in order to help guide and make sure we're doing things responsibly and thoughtfully. And, that question is really, really important. And so I think I had a conversation with someone who's a teacher here, and I said, all the tools, if you don't do them with a level of excellence, it doesn't matter, right? It's just going to be slop. So no one wants to see slop, hopefully. But our kids get really bombarded by a lot of slop. And so it really takes the adults to guide our kids, our children, to like what is good, what's good storytelling. And what I think is happening and what's exciting is it forces us to be human again. Forces us to go to the game, go do something in person, have them watch old films, have them, care about things. But again, we sit along all of it, and our job here is really to be aware of all the things and then share that out to you all, because I think in different industries, it's the same question. Why do we need it?
And I will say, and I know we have to go because Nancy's on the stage now, which I know what that means.
1 minute.
The hook is here.
We have 30 seconds.
But is looking at almost like how the pendulum swing that happens, where I just heard an interview where actually parents are starting to install landlines again because their kids don't understand what a phone is. And they're like, you know what, if you're going to use your phone, we're going to actually have a phone. I don't want you on your screen all the time. So I think there's a little bit of, I think there is going to be, especially with advertising and brands, a lot of let's just do everything AI, but then I think there's that sort of, rubber band moment of, but it's not good and I'm not connecting to it, so it's not actually doing its job because there isn't a human in the loop, to quote an earlier subject of an AI symposium. So I think it's a little bit in that sort of crest and trough moment as well.
I'll add two things. Creative technologists across the board in media and entertainment, they do not download TikTok. They do not have it on their phones. Maybe if it's a work phone. I don't know anyone. No one I know in my space.
I don't have TikTok. Does anybody here not have TikTok on their phone? Oh, really? Fantastic.
You don't have TikTok. Was that a...
Oh.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah, we don't.
The other thing is, I institute with my kids over the holidays a 3-day fast of technology. My kids were jumping on my husband like, Dad, you didn't do it, and there's my husband. I was like, addicted much? So, I think we're starting to see some things where, like those fasts, those removals, if there's no regulation, we need to do that. We need to actually lean in and take ownership, because it's what are we putting in front of ourselves? And it goes back to the story, like stories that are really significant are the ones we ruminate and we think about, and that help to elevate humanity. So we'll leave it at that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you guys very much.